Just because lots of people are experiencing something alongside you doesn't make it any better. If anything, it's harder because you're not special. Christina Sweeney-Baird, The End of Men. My name is Jess,
My name is Hannah.
and today we have for you another requested reads. This one comes from Mina Reads Too Much from our good friend Mina Amine. I feel like I always say your name wrong, and so I'm so very sorry. And for that, we will stick with Mina. But good God, this was a hell of a request.
Oh my god, it was so good. It was
Oh my
so good.
God.
Oh my god, dude.
This might be my favorite requested read to date, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, this
goodness.
one struck me in ways that I did not see coming whatsoever. But I'm still thinking about this book, and I finished it almost a month ago. Dude,
Wow.
dude.
Oh my god. Yeah, this was quite possibly the quickest 5 stars I've ever run to
Yeah.
Storycraft to mark.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
It really was. Before we get too into it, would you like to read us a description?
I would love to. Hold on. Please hold. Pretend there's elevator music here. So, the description is: only men carry the virus. Only women can save us all. The year is 2025, and a mysterious virus has broken out in Scotland, a lethal illness that seems to affect only men. When Dr. Amanda McLean reports this phenomenon, she is dismissed as hysterical. By the time her warning is heeded, it is too late. The virus becomes a global pandemic and a political one. The victims are all men. The world becomes alien, a woman's world. What follows is the immersive account of the women who have been left to deal with the virus's consequences, told through first-person narratives. Dr. McLean, Catherine, a social historian determined to document the human stories behind the male plague, intelligence analyst Dawn, tasked with helping the government forge a new society, and Elizabeth, one of many scientists desperately working to help develop a vaccine. Through these women and others, we see the uncountable ways the absence of men has changed society, from the personal, the loss of husbands and sons, to the political, the changes in the workforce, fertility, and the meaning of family. Oh my god.
Okay. So, I I do not get this urge very often. However, immediately upon finishing this book, I knew that I had to write a full-on review about it. I had to put it in words, in writing, on paper. Not really on paper because it's on my laptop, but I had to get it down. Okay.
Mhm.
So, I am gonna read this to you. And have you read this yet?
Is it somewhere where I could have read it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I did not read it. I didn't even
Okay.
know you wrote it.
Okay. So, this is also Hannah's first time hearing this review. So,
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope to
I,
God you're about to read it to me after all this
yes.
build up about this review.
Okay. To have gone into this book with simply the notion that 90% of men are killed off by a virus feels naive of me in hindsight, because it is so very much more than that. I can only imagine that Christina Sweeney-Baird became intimately familiar with the depths of human emotion, heartache, mourning, and acceptance herself throughout the process of writing this book. This review may get a bit more personal than is typical. However, the depth of my feeling for the end of men cannot quite be conveyed well enough without a little context thrown in. We start with Amanda McLean, the A&E consultant who just so happened to treat quote-unquote patient zero of the male plague and was the first to catch on to the beginnings of a public health crisis, sounding the alarm upon deaf ears. One has to immediately admire Amanda's use of practicality and honestly common sense. So often will characters make an ill-advised choice just for the razzle-dazzle of it all, but Amanda, no. Amanda maintains a solid head on her shoulders, makes all the right moves to keep her husband and her son safe, and still loses them all despite her very best efforts. Her grief becomes the story as we follow her journey back into the healthcare in the post-plague world, with only 10% of men alive, and those that were essentially quarantined in their various homes of sorts until a vaccine became available. It was heartbreaking in the unfairness of it all, and yet she persisted. Another woman who persisted, who lost her husband Anthony and their son Theodore, was Catherine Lawrence. Catherine felt it was important to document the effect of the plague on how it touched people's lives and how they lived with all the loss surrounding them. Because that's the thing when 90% of the world's men are dead. It's not just you hurting, it's everyone. And society must continue anyway. She knew what was happening was important to document and that these people's lives mattered. I work as an MOA, which is a medical office assistant, and more specifically, I work in fertility. I see patients pursuing treatment with donor eggs and sperm daily, and I personally see the effect that fertility treatment can have on a woman. Catherine began this book resistant of going for IVF. It felt too invasive, and she was uncomfortable with the hormonal medications. These are all very valid and very real fears. However, her husband remained hopeful that she may one day soon change her mind. Fertility treatment can involve life-changing decisions, and all with deadlines decided by your body's own biological clock, and it can put strain on a couple to say the least, especially when there are also thousands of dollars involved on top of it all. To listen to the guilt that Catherine went through after the love of her life, Antony, passed away, and was then closely followed by Theo, it undid her to recollect her hesitancy to get pregnant again, when it could have led to a daughter, could have been the difference between being alone in the apocalypse and not. The choice on whether to keep going, keep fighting for just one more cycle, or to face the reality your body is punching you in the gut with was well articulated and was done in a respectful manner to those who are currently pursuing their fertility journey. I appreciated that Christina Sweeney-Baird referenced true fertility medicine without going out of her depth in the science of it all, as she captured the incredibly wide range of emotions one goes through as a patient undergoing fertility treatment. The book also has a steady progression through time with each chapter, allowing the reader to follow along to these women's lives for a solid few years. You really see them through each stage of grief and are forced to feel it along with them. All these women who have just lost nearly every man in their life, having no choice but to carry on because society can't stop because the men aren't around anymore. Life goes on, and so they pursue. Society adapts, and being fed tidbits of this new world through snapshots of these women's lives leads to absolutely devouring that book. It is that addicting. The End of Men is compelling enough that I'd listened to the audiobook, and I now want a physical copy to annotate all of my very niche scientific ramblings into. Christina Sweeney-Baird's writing is honestly stunning and beyond memorable for me, and I cannot wait for more.
That was really good. Wow. That's correct. Agree
Yeah.
on all points.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I have a very personal connection to this book, as you have all heard just now. I don't think I've really gone very specific into my work before because I try to keep it a little anon publicly. But yeah, I work in fertility. And so this book, it really showcased a lot of the struggles and the internal conflicts that these people go through every single day. And so many of them, they don't have family or friends that have gone through this before. And so they feel that alone, and that there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of mourning, and there's a lot of hope involved all at the same time. And I think Christina Sweeney-Baird, she really conveyed that in a way that I was not expecting whatsoever. I barely read the back of the book before I opened it up because sometimes I just like to raw dog things a little too close to the sun, and this was one of those situations because I went in blind and I got fucked up from it. Okay?
Real.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want an apocalypse book that will just break your heart just a little bit, this is a great one.
More than a little bit. I sobbed more than once. And you know, it's so crazy. That aspect, like the fertility aspect of it, and like that whole part of the book about the grief and the mourning, but like this hope, that's literally just one aspect of this whole book.
It's only one part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I knew when I was listening to this that I would have a lot to say. And I literally just made like stream of consciousness notes about it, just like hoping to God that I would have everything that I needed to talk about, because there's so many things to talk about. Like, it's just
Truly.
such a rich, beautiful, heartbreaking novel. It's my first note is literally, oh my God, dude, ... 5 stars. That's all I had.
Real.
That's all I had. Like, I finished this book and then had to not read for a few days because I was like, I can't do this. It was
Dude,
crazy.
this book weighed on me so heavily in the week that, like, following that after I finished reading it, because, like, we had some pretty devastating patient cases in that week. And actually, the day after I finished this book, we had one that, like, particularly gutted me a bit. Like, all of us were devastated for this woman. And I'm not going into specifics on what happened, but it was a rough day. And all I could think about was that patient and this book. And oh my God, like, I was telling all my coworkers, I'm like, you guys don't understand what I'm going through right now.
You don't know. Yeah. And again, that's literally just one aspect of the book. That's not even
Just
like,
one.
like I think the one thing that really struck me with this book was the way it went into every aspect of how the plague affected the world. It was immaculate. It was immaculate. Christina Sweeney-Baird brought in things I would never even have thought of.
Yeah.
Like food rations and dating and the workforce, like especially with like trades and stuff like that. Because
where they just went, well, hike up your pants, it's time to go.
Yeah. Or the specifically the things like the programs for the new babies being born and like the teenagers and the kids that they were trying desperately to save to bring, like, save the population, to like stop us from going extinct.
Yeah, the boys that went out to that farm.
Yeah, I have a note here. The program for the teen boys was crazy, and for a few reasons. One, because it saved their lives, and the journal entry from one of them after going back into high school at 20 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And also the pregnant women with that program and how they weren't told about what was going to happen before they gave birth.
I'm going to get into that in a second. But I have a note. Just wait. But the teen boys, it really makes you wonder because, like, they're going back into society for the first time again at 20 years old. They literally just spent years in this safe haven, just playing soccer and having a good time. And somehow they were saved. And the son of the woman who was essentially had these 75 boys just forced upon her because she had the space for it. She literally put her own son, like, away, like yards away, like, in a shed.
Like a cave.
Yeah, in a shed
or something. Yeah.
To keep him safe because she wanted to make sure that the rest of them were immune. And he was there for like months, just completely isolated. Could you imagine that kid?
Yeah.
And
just because she couldn't confirm that the boys that were coming to stay weren't already sick.
Yeah. Exactly. And so she was like, I just need to keep my son safe. That woman is a badass. And she became a mom essentially for 75 kids.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. But the other thing that makes me think is now with these young boys that are left, like, it's essentially going to fall to them to rebuild the population.
Oh, they're going to be so popular in high school.
Well, not even that, but like it comes down to like the technicality. Like, what if they never wanted to have kids? What if they never, like, that choice is essentially just taken away? And it's interesting.
Like, is sperm donation going to become required?
Yeah, exactly.
For men?
Exactly. And with that, it makes me wonder, or not wonder, but it's interesting to me how men become this vast minority in this book. It's completely subversive of how our society operates. And like, okay, now men don't have choices.
Yeah, and now men feel like they're being preyed upon by these women approaching them in public and catcalling them, and how the roles have really reversed in society. Now, one guy, he's like, I can't go out to dinner without being approached by a woman now. And
yeah,
they're finally experiencing the other side of that coin.
Yeah, and the male characters that we hear from in the book, from the perspective of them, they don't even seem angry. They just seem shocked and like, holy shit, this is what it was like. Some of them seem aware of that.
It's like a prolonged state of shock where it's like they're just like, this it almost like they accepted it as inevitable come the end.
Yeah, and also some of them seem like okay, like respect. Like
Yeah.
I like had no idea and now I'm living
Yeah.
it. I'm living
Uh-huh.
the way that women have always lived.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to see the male reaction to those changes. But it does make me feel for characters like these teen boys who are literally just
Yeah.
like, one day everything's fine, next day there's a global plague, somehow you survive it, and now suddenly you're livestock,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. And like they probably have women of all ages approaching them now.
Yeah.
And these are like 16, 17-year-old boys. You think they're going to know how to say no and stand up for themselves?
Yeah.
Tell me how that dynamic is going to play out in a safe and respectful manner. I dare you.
Yeah, and also just the fact that like none of this speculation that we're doing right now is even on page. It's just so
Yeah.
interlaced into the writing that like you think further. You think beyond the
Hmm.
page with
And
this
it's not
book.
often a book does that to me, to be completely
Me
honest.
too. And so it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God. So that was crazy. And then you
Hmm.
brought up about the program about the women who were not told ahead of
Yeah.
time that their babies were going to be taken.
Yes, because they were also, it became came into effect that they were not allowed to find out the gender of the fetus prior to birth. So gender reveals outlawed because it was such a concern that if it was a male, they would abort because they didn't want their son to just die. But because only 10% of males do survive, they couldn't reduce that 10% even farther by allowing these women to abort any male fetus that is conceived. So, no gender reveals anymore. So, you only find out what the gender is once the baby has been born. And so, we're watching this like maternity ward essentially. And in one room, there's a woman giving birth. It's her very first infant. She is terrified that it's going to be a boy. She's crying. She doesn't want to, like, when women are like, no, it can actually stay inside, doesn't need to come out right now. We're good. We're just going to keep on going like this until the rest of my life. She was one of those ones
Mm.
because she was just so afraid that it was going to be a boy and she'd still be alone after. In her case, it was a girl, and so that was the best case scenario. However, in the room next door, this family who's had three girls, everything is just fine. Three girls, husband's immune. They're basically still living the perfect American house family, the white picket fence, etc., etc., is having the calmest birth ever, and it's a boy. And so the range of emotion in just those two rooms is wild. And then to go even further and to have, another woman whose son is just born be taken away from her and then have them go, do you want to keep him and do you want to risk him getting sick? It's a 90% mortality rate. Would you rather
Oh my God.
would you rather take him? We can give him to you, or we can quarantine him with other infants that have never been exposed to men or and are more likely to survive because either he's going to die or he's going to live, but he's more likely to die with you. And to basically force the mother to be like, actually, you can take my child away.
Yeah, that whole scene,
Oh my God.
especially because it was through the eyes of this argument between the woman who I think she was a psychologist. I don't even think that she
Yeah.
like who's the
She was
one.
like one of the psychologists that run the program, and it was her idea not to inform the women that the infant was going to be taken away.
Yeah, which is smart. I agree with that choice, honestly, because
Yeah,
like
because
could you
that was the
imagine
only way that they could
make sure.
fully convince the women and make it so that they wanted their children to be protected by this because they basically went, oh, would you rather take him and let him die? And they went, actually,
No,
you're
but
right.
it's so much more than that. It's
And
it's
it's
this
it
it's
is
this
that
moment,
is a very dumbed down
it's
version.
it's this moment of sheer raw emotional reckoning because they're having this
Yeah.
fight with this psychologist, and this psychologist is childless. She does not have children, And
Mm-hmm.
all of the mothers are being like, you don't have children, you don't understand, you're taking our babies away, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're like going off on her, like attacking her personally because
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be allowed to make these choices. You're not a mother, which is like one of these arguments that we have nowadays with,
Over so many things.
but also over women who don't have children.
Oh, yeah.
And so she finally she gets fed up at this one particular woman like laying into her because she does not have a child, and so she shouldn't be allowed to make these choices for them, and they should have been informed and all of this. And so the mothers are all like high and mighty and feel like very like self-righteous and are fighting for their babies back, and she literally just looks at one of them and goes, go get your baby then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's silence. It's this crazy moment of emotional reckoning where the mother just, all of the fight just leaves her and she just
Mm-hmm.
breaks down, and it becomes so clear that they weren't fighting her, they weren't fighting over the program or anything. It wasn't really about that. It was about the fact that they're all in this situation and there's nothing that anybody can do about it, and they just needed to be mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the psychologist just goes, go get your baby then, and she realizes that she doesn't want to, it's like this insane.
Oh, how the turntables.
Yeah. And the psychologist approaches it with so much compassion.
Yeah.
Even in the face of these
It
women.
was a wild chapter.
Like, these women being abusive to her for this choice that she's made for their children.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't even have a child and doesn't even understand fully what it's like. It's, oh my God, that moment. Yeah. And that was one of those things that like you would never even think of.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the effects of the plague, that it's like, oh, like shit, I never would have thought of that.
No.
Oh my God. Christina Sweeney-Baird is a genius.
She really is.
And then also the thing about like the workforce.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like, when, what's it called? When people take time off to grieve.
Like a mourning leave?
Something like that. There's an actual name for it, but basically none of that was allowed here
Yeah.
because of exactly the quote that we opened this with. When everyone's hurting, you're not special.
Yeah.
And society can't just stop because everyone's lost their husbands and their dads and their sons. Like, it needs to keep going, and so do you.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh.
Heavy.
And also the rise of education all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like never would have thought of that again.
Oh my God. And a cure for endometriosis being discovered post-men.
Yeah.
Because of course, women's health finally gets researched once women are the ones running the field.
Yes. I still think that like women should be running fields that have to do with women.
Honestly, if they were, we'd probably have an endo cure today. Like, also, I love that this book took place this year.
Yes. I was just, like, I made a note
felt
about
like such a good time to read this.
It's like really eerie that the plague starts November of this year.
Yeah, so everybody watch out.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I thought that the cure for endometriosis, like, I freaked out listening to that part because, again, work and fertility, it's a huge fucking problem and it's barely addressed. Like, it ruins
just like, you're in pain constantly.
Women's chances at fertility and just living a comfortable life, and no one gives a shit. And there's other disorders and like abnormalities. Like adenomyosis can only be diagnosed via hysterectomy. Tell me how that helps women's fertility.
Yeah. Tell me how that's supposed to help with anything.
Doesn't whatsoever. Like, the only way to diagnose a problem with the uterus is to remove the uterus. Get real.
Yeah, with all the technology.
Honestly.
Like, there's no fucking way that you should not be able to do. Oh my God.
And that's a problem today.
Yeah. And this book just brings all of that to light. Like, literally, she just dragged all of these issues out and we're like, look, see?
Yeah.
And I think that she in particular handled the sort of balance between the devastation of losing all men, but also the benefits of losing all men.
True, because yeah, there it really was like an even scale on okay, here's all the advances we're making, and also everything fucking sucks. And
Yeah.
it's just such a work of art.
Yeah.
Like honestly, this book has immediately entered into my top 5.
Yeah. And also the format was interesting about
Yes.
like the combination of like just general fiction prose and journals and articles and
Uh-huh.
firsthand accounts and interviews. The
Yeah.
interviews were
Catherine came in
crazy.
so clutch with the interviews and
Yeah.
just how she made that like her project over the play
Yeah.
was just to write down these people's stories
Yeah.
and how they're like, what's the name of your husband and son? Because you remember them and now so do I.
Yeah.
Oh,
Someone said that to her when she was
yeah.
interviewing. Yeah, like
Yeah,
someone has
that
to
was
remember them.
Amanda said that to her.
Yeah.
The A&E consultant who treated patient 0, they eventually met later on and they were talking, they're like, "Yeah, tell me about your husband because they were a part of your life and they're a part of your story.
Yeah.
And you're still here and so are they in the way."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh my God, that scene killed me because especially because Catherine's story in particular is
oh my
gut
God,
wrenching
Catherine gutted me.
because
Yeah.
because like the fertility thing aside, her husband was wonderful.
He was a beautiful man. He treated her with so much love and he treated their son with so much love. And they were raising their son so beautifully.
Yeah.
And it was just ripped from them.
Yeah, and he treated her with respect.
Yeah.
And anytime she gave an example at some point about how someone else had made some like shitty misogynistic comment. And
Mm-hmm.
or no, he had said like his friend had been talking about how his wife was like getting all worked up about these silly little things and or ridiculous things, and Anthony just said to him, "It's not ridiculous. If she's bringing it up, then it's not ridiculous. She is
Yeah.
not ridiculous."
If she has feelings about it, then it's not crazy.
Yeah. Like she is not ridiculous. And so for Anthony to go, and then the motherfucker who walked out on his wife, I forget the wife's name, but that was one of the
Oh my
stories.
God.
That was one
Yeah.
of the stories where like he just abandoned his family and then came back 3 years later only to after he realized he
Yeah.
was immune and was like, "Just kidding, I'm coming back." And she was like,
And they just
"No,
went, no, like you
get out."
left us. We're not bowing down because you're back and you're a man. Also, the guy on the boat, oh,
Writing letters to
I
his
think,
wife.
yeah. And then his book, I think it was like Dear Francis, Love Toby or Tony,
Um,
something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But his Dear Francis, I know his wife's name is Francis.
Yeah.
And oh my God. And that Francis was the one that got them all of the rations out to the boat.
Yep.
And she made sure that they survived. And then he did survive. He was immune. And oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was just
And their little book tour and how he is just like, this is Francis, everybody.
yeah, I loved
Oh.
how all the stories that we're seeing like individually throughout the whole thing come together in the end. Like they start to overlap. And that's also another aspect of a plague like this that was interesting is like these people are all over the place globally and they would never have met otherwise.
No.
And now suddenly
The world's a lot smaller.
yeah, and it's all coming together because everyone's having this mutual experience. And the women, the main women, especially like Elizabeth, I love how she found that one immune guy and ended up getting married and having a happy ending. She deserved that. She was such a sweetheart. Catherine, oh, we've talked about her, but like Catherine was amazing. And I feel like her character ends up representing the primal human need to tell stories and be remembered. I think that is,
I think so.
like stories have always been a part. Stories and music and art have always been fundamental to human beings, even from ancient times to now. And she was the one like anchor that kind of represented that in this story. And I thought that was really beautiful. And the way that she did that in spite of all of her pain. And also just like the little interpersonal logistics of how she came back into her friendships after avoiding her friend who her family didn't die because she had daughters, and so she was just so angry at her friend, but also missed her and loved her so much and missed her girls. And so that whole internal struggle, or like the vaccine came out and she was furious because she was like, why couldn't we have discovered this earlier?
Why did it take this long?
Yeah, and it took this long because we had to wait for all of the men getting in the way to die.
Yeah.
Which is not stated, but heavily implied. And so it's just like that. I felt like her story was like a look, see, this is what happens when we let men get in the way. And oh, it was just beautiful the way that was done. And then Amanda was amazing. Same thing about how she just kept this level head, and she was like, oh no, you dismissed me. And then how she eventually became in charge and then fired that guy.
Oh my God. Amanda, she has the most powerful sense of just practicality I have ever met in a fictional character.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with this. She would survive a horror movie.
Real. It's giving Final Girl.
Yeah.
Which is full circle because
she makes it.
She started it because
she did.
Well, she didn't start it, but like she was the one who realized immediately.
Yeah. She's the first one that got a sense that like there's a lot of patients here presenting very similarly with very severe reactions in a very acute time frame. Yeah. That's fucked up. There's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they just called her crazy. They just said she was hysterical.
Yeah. Literally the WHO, the World Health Organization, went, girl, calm down.
No, it wasn't the World Health Organization. It was the man in charge because she was originally emailing another woman, and the woman was like, hey, man, what do I do about this?
Was like, let me talk to my superior, emailed him, and he went, yep, sounds crazy.
And she's been crazy in the past, so we can believe her. Yeah. He like used something about her history to like dismiss her. Ooh, I hate that guy. I'm so glad he got fired. And then Maria, the reporter.
Yes.
Oh my God, the reporter. That was amazing. The way that she was like the call it like it is voice. And she was the one, she seized the opportunity. She was one of the ones who seized the plague as an opportunity to do all of the research that women have been wanting to do. And to like study the things that need to be studied. And she was the one to do the socio-political research and to be like, hey, this is what we're noticing. And you can't pretend it's not happening anymore. All the men are dying, and look at how much things have improved. And she's like, you can't pretend.
It's hard to ignore things when they're staring you in the face.
Exactly. And she's the first one to point it out. So these are just like these amazing women. And we're finally hearing their stories, and they're finally getting to do their research, and they're finally getting to have the jobs that they want to have and to be in the workforce and to enjoy aspects of life and these opportunities that were always blocked from them simply because men existed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they didn't, and now suddenly it's a whole new world. Like, I feel like the point of this, maybe not the point, but like a main theme of this book is speculative fiction on how, on a personal level, losing all of the men is devastating. But on a general world, organizational, societal level, it was an improvement. And that's like hard. That's metal. Yeah. That's crazy.
It is.
And it's done with so much tact and so much respect and so much taste.
It really was. This was a very tasteful book. Like, from the science, like I mentioned, she didn't go out of her depth, but she referenced like true science, true medical facts, like actual medications used in treatment. She talked about like the workforce, exactly how it is. Like, I've worked in factories, I've worked in that male run environment, and like I can only imagine the difference that a factory job would have if there was only 10% of men working there. I would probably still work in a cheese factory if that were the case.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, wild.
It's crazy. And she addresses the way that there are these improvements without bringing misandry into it as well, which is something that I appreciated because often I find, at least personally in my experience with the reading that I have done, feminist literature often, in my opinion, swings too far in the other direction.
feminism should be more about equality than it is shitting on men.
Yes.
And Christina did that very well.
Yeah. Shitting on men is not feminism. Sorry to say. No, it's not. That's not.
That's feminazism.
Yes. And that's not correct. And I feel like a book like this easily could have gone that way, and it just didn't. Like, even though there were these mass societal progressions and improvements,
she never outright blamed the men for holding society back in the past. She just went, now that they've passed, here's what we were able to do.
Yeah, and the women in the story don't take those opportunities from men.
No, they just step into them because that's where they're at in life.
And they can.
And in society.
So even though men became the vast minority, and they were starting to experience some of the things that women have always experienced, especially when it comes to dating, still were not outwardly discriminated against or shit on or excluded from society. If anything, they became more coveted.
Yeah.
And I liked that this made a point about the female condition, the way that things are for women, without just shitting on men.
Basically, yeah.
And so I loved that. And I thought one way that showed that sort of balance was the woman who invented the vaccine and didn't just give it to the world. She did it and was going to save men and was content to save men. However, she was not going to not be paid for her efforts and not be recognized.
Yeah. I also love that woman was Canadian, and she sold the vaccine to the Canadian government.
Yeah.
Who then sold it to other countries around the world once they were approved to be manufacturers of the vaccine.
Yeah.
And I also thought that was a very interesting way to do it. And I thought so because the way that they rationalized it was that countries had to be approved for manufacturing in order to maintain the efficacy of the vaccine and the standards of its manufacturing. And so even though people were pissed off that she was selling the vaccine as opposed to just supplying it to the world, I thought that it made sense. And all the countries got on board with it. So it's not she was holding this from the world and keeping it under lock and key. She was just saying, you guys need to be ready for this because we either do it right or you don't do it at all.
Yeah, and she was really arrogant and awful.
She was. Her name is Lisa.
Lisa. She was very arrogant and awful about it, and she didn't want to share her Nobel Prize, and she was very meh about it.
Yeah. She's I didn't get help from anybody. It's only the scientists that you based all of your research off of, but whatever.
Yeah. And so I didn't like that. So I have mixed feelings about her because I don't like that aspect of it.
But I like how she went about rationalizing why she sold the vaccine.
Yeah. And I liked how it also played into that balance of we don't want to shit on men, but we are also going to pay women for their efforts and recognize.
Yeah. And you know what? I always respect processes in healthcare. Okay. Having that fail-safe on keeping the vaccine at a certain level of quality, I thought that was very smart. And again, not something that would have happened in a male-run society. How many different COVID vaccines did we have?
Yeah.
Period. There was one male plague vaccine.
Yep.
One.
MP1.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little something to think about.
The women of the world worked together. The conversation.
We just went through this, and I feel considering that all of us globally have this reference right now, a good time to read this book. Just saying.
Yeah. And also the way that the wars were handled. Because there were civil wars all over the world, particularly in China. There was the China
There's a
narrative.
Quote on this. It says, "We have seen men wage war since the dawn of time. Nobody wins the wars men fight."
Yes. Yeah. And that's not a new notion. Like, a lot of people have made the comment in the past of,
Yeah.
like, if women, if the start of every war, like the female soldiers on each side were to be allowed to have a conversation on the front lines, the war would probably not even happen.
Yep. It's all about communication.
Communication and not getting our egos involved.
Speaking of egos, you want another quote?
I would love another quote.
Okay. His arrogance is breathtaking. He's not a geneticist, and neither am I. I aspire to think so much of my own opinion that, having never even seen it under a microscope, I can blithely reassure someone that a virus has a genetic element, using the justification of an area of science I don't even have a master's in.
Yep. That was so good. That was so good. Yeah.
The amount of times that people quote science that they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And the amount of times that those people are men. Dude, where are you buying your audacity in bulk? I'm so curious.
It's got to be Costco.
Do you have like a coupon or like what?
Yeah.
What is that about?
Oh my God, for real. They probably buy it by the pallet.
And like, and not to, again, I know I'm not here to shit on men, but those men in particular, the overconfident ones, I'm like, maybe you want to get a master's degree before you start going off like that.
Please. Oh my God. Yeah.
The last aspect that I wanted to touch on quickly, I know we're pretty much out of time, but the other thing that I never would have thought about was how the dating world changed after.
I loved that as well.
Yeah.
Because they go into a little story based on these women who met on Adapt, which is like the new dating app for women that previously were with men but are open to trying relationships with other women. Now that the pool, there's not that many fish in the sea anymore. So, and there was one question that was brought up that was answered very tactfully that I'd like to chat about. And there's this female couple, and one of them asked the other, if the plague had never happened, would you ever have pictured yourself with a woman? And her answer, I don't have it exactly word for word, but her answer was along the lines of, I don't think that's relevant because the plague did happen and this is our story. And just because that's how we met does it not take away from the feelings that I have from you or for you and the hope that I have for our future together. Yes, it's an unconventional way of falling in love, but nonetheless, we did. And so I don't think my marriage to a man or the fact that the male plague occurring takes away from our relationship now.
Yeah. And that was such a beautiful comment on the whole issue that happens with especially bisexual women. Oh, you're with a man, so you're not into women then? So you're lying?
Yeah.
Or, oh, you're with a woman, so you must be a lesbian? It's like, no.
Yeah.
And
I like to say that I am in a straight passing relationship.
Yeah.
Because I am a woman in a relationship with a man. However, I am also attracted to women. But you don't know that just from looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that dynamic can definitely, a lot of women in today's society struggle with that as well. And being able to feel connected to that queer part of themselves while still being active in their relationship. And so I think I touched on that a bit too, which I thought was nice.
Yeah. I liked the comment that me being in a relationship with a man before or having the capacity to be in a relationship with a man does not take away from the relationship I have with you.
Yeah.
And I liked that. It was really sweet. And then the full circle moment about how Maria ended up with the woman who was in charge of Adapt or something because they had met when she was interviewing her about the app.
Uh-huh.
I love that for Maria.
She had lost her husband and her son and was never going to date again, and then slowly found her way onto Adapt and met the love of her life again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really sweet. And I just liked how all of these women, despite having these really devastating stories and losing the men in their lives, which was devastating, men are are a part of things. Like it's hard when you lose half the people in your life. That's insane. I couldn't even imagine. And so I liked that Catherine ended up having a daughter. Amanda got the position of the man who rejected her notions and ignored her pleas. And Maria fell in love with, you know, the woman who runs Adapt and ended up together. Elizabeth found the one immune guy in her community and ended up having the traditional fall in love, get married, have kids.
Which she never thought was going to happen.
Yeah, and the Lisa who created the vaccine was ridiculously rich and married a woman and had a great time.
Yeah.
And so I loved...
And won a Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Or a third of it, at least.
Yeah. And I love how all of these women have vastly different endings and vastly different outcomes, but they're all equally happy.
Yeah.
One of them's a single mom. One of them is doing the traditional marry a man, have children. One of them is career. One of them is accomplishment. One of them is, you know,
New
social
families.
success.
Yeah.
Like, and they're all happy. And so it just felt like this big glaring, it doesn't matter because these are all equally happy and these are all successful. These are all forms of success, whether you go the traditional route or you focus on your career or whatever. You don't have to do it all, and you don't have to fit into any sort of a mold of what a happy ending is supposed to look like. They just did whatever was best for them in this new world. And I liked that statement a lot, especially because there's a lot of debates around what women should do and what their futures should look like and how you should have a family and your timeline and your biological clock and whatever the fuck.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And Lisa's childless.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, like, I liked that statement. For sure.
Yeah.
That's not actually made, but heavily implied. There's a lot of that in this book.
Yeah. It gets you thinking a lot, which is wild. Yeah. Yeah. This book, oh my God.
At first, it just looks like a collection of short stories.
Yeah. But oh my God, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And it deserves some attention.
Yeah, definitely. It was so good. I want a physical copy so bad. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. As soon as I see one, it's coming home with me.
Yeah, these are the kinds of books that make me remember why I love reading and storytelling and stories in general, because nothing is quite like this.
It's lit a fire in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you would like to get into this with us, our DMs are open. We will talk about this for as long as anyone wants to talk to us for. So you can find us on Instagram or Threads at badlyannotatedpod, or you can email us at badlyannotatedpod@gmail.com, and all of our links everywhere you can find us on where to stream is available in the link in our Instagram bio. And with that, best wishes, kindest regards.
Sincerely, Jess and Hannah.